Hey guys, it is Coach Trish, and I am just getting started tonight, starting a little bit late, waiting on people to hop in, and I think Talia is coming in now. So we'll get started here in just a minute. But I had something I wanted to share with you tonight. Hey, hey, girl.
Hey.
Hey. So I actually have something prepared that I wanted to share tonight, if that's okay, and then we will go through whatever questions you have, and because I want to share this first part with the whole group. It was something that I came across that was too good not to share. So I'm going to share that first. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. If I can find it here. Okay. All right, so you should see mindless or mindful. Do you see that up there? Perfect. Okay, so let me slide over here and I should be able, yes, perfect. Okay, so much of the time when we set up our power hours, everything in the world will distract us. We have babies, we have husbands, we have all the things, even things like prayer requests or things we're worried about or whatever will come in and cause us to be distracted. So when I came across this today, I thought, you know what, I'm going to tweak this a little bit and share it tonight with the ladies in the group, and I hope you love it as much as I did. So, mindless habits. 4 out of 10 things that we do every day are completely mindless. That doesn't mean that we didn't think about them in advance. That just means that when we're doing them, we are busy thinking about other things. If we leave, so what I wanted to do was help us learn how to take the other 6 and choose what we want to do with it. Truthfully, I want to take all of them and be able to stay mindful, and it can be done. So left to themselves, our brains might make even the most important things we do into mindless habits, right? And here's the real problem. Every day, we need to get things done, but we only have a certain amount of brain power to do them with. And if you don't believe that, hit about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You got to grab that cup of coffee and you got to get your brain refocused and replenished, and that doesn't always work. So we've got a certain amount of resources, right? So roughly 40% of the things that we do are done from sheer habit. Habits are things we do without thinking, and that's a good thing, right? Wrong. It's not always a good thing. So habits are only good when they are good habits. If your power hours, which is what we're talking about tonight, become a complete habit, it might become easy to zone out and not truly focus in and be your most productive self. Daily meetings, anything that's repetitive can become a habitual or can become habitual and create a dead zone where nobody's brain is actually switched on, right? Even like going to a kid's soccer game, having a Zoom meeting, having business prep, all of that can fall into the same pattern. You're sitting there and you're focused and you're ready to work, and a million things go across your brain, and before you know it, you've been staring at a blank page for 5 minutes, or you've written down things, but you don't really, you look back at your notes and like, what did I even mean by that? Because you were thinking about supper tonight, or you were thinking about whatever else came across your brain. And what that is our attention gets zapped by what we think are urgent tasks. It feels like we got a fire that needs to be put out. Kind of like when you're brushing your teeth or you're taking a shower, and I don't know how many times I have re-washed my hair because I cannot remember if I washed it, or have reconditioned because I don't remember, or I will feel the front of my leg to make sure I actually shaved both of them because my brain is so focused elsewhere, right? Let's face it, most of us are moms or grandmas, we are multitaskers. It's what we do. So these thoughts show up unwarranted and they steal our time and our energy away from us. But these tasks that are grabbing our attention and focus, they're grabbing it because they're not routine. They're fresh, they're new, and they seem like fires that we need to be put out. And they take us away from the time that we should be doing what is really important, right? And worse yet, nine times out of 10, they don't take us anywhere. All the important stuff that would actually advance us emotionally or productively or otherwise was given the unthinking habitual part of us, and much of that we don't remember. And so what I mean by that is the things that we really should be focusing on, like creating 3 or 4 social media posts, or creating our next email, or working on our course creation, or whatever it is that we've set out to do during this time, we're doing from rote memory and routine and giving our creative brain all the junk. Okay. So, and then half the time we don't even remember it. So the way habits work is when we form a habit, we start with a goal. So this is the good part of habits. Like say we want to have fresh breath, right? So first we create a ritual that will help us when we pursue it, that will create that fresh breath. So brushing your teeth, right? So I've got my goal now, and I've got my first ritual, which is brushing my teeth. Well, now I have to have a trigger. I have to have something that causes me to remember to brush my teeth, be it taking a shower, be it walking into the bathroom, be it eating a meal, whatever it is, that trigger that says to you, okay, now it's time to brush my teeth. And then eventually, once that habit forms, it becomes mindless. And that's a good thing. Those kind of habits are good things, right? So it frees our brain up during that time to use those resources with something else. So stay with me here. I think you follow what I'm saying. You've got a goal in mind. You've set up the first ritual that's going to cause that to happen. So I'm going to build a business. My first ritual is to have a power hour. And what's going to trigger that is either my timer or my appointments I've set in my calendar, or maybe I'm going to do it after lunch each day or whatever. We're habit stacking, right? We've got a trigger. We're set up to do it. But the problem is, once that becomes a solid routine, then the resources we used to use to get there can now be used for something else, because our brains are chronic multitaskers. And some of us feel like multitasking is our superhero trait, right? Give me 5 things to get done and I'll do it in 10 minutes because I'm going to wait till the last 10 minutes to get it done instead of planning and being proactive, right? So we have to choose strategically. And the question is, can we do that? Can we really choose what to think about and how to assign certain things to habit, but to keep our brain open so that we can focus on the right things? Yes, we can. But our brain needs a little bit of help, especially if you are like me and you are a squirrel chaser, or if you are exceptionally creative and you've got all of these wonderful ideas that you want to implement, and boom, another one comes. So we have to keep some aids beside us to help us with this. Our brains will cut corners. They will. If something is uncomfortable, if something seems interesting, your brain will cut corners to get to it. Just like a little kid that wants dessert more than he wants supper, right? So if you leave your brain alone, it will cut corners. It'll even skip sleep if possible to think about some new exciting thing. Now, I don't have as much trouble with that now. I've learned some coping mechanisms to help me lay down and actually go to sleep. But if I pick up my phone and I start to scroll, and it can be out of a good heart, I can go there to see, oh, I need to see, did my brother get his birthday post? Or did I remember to actually schedule that post for business or whatever? And then I get there and it's a rabbit hole. And so before long, it's an hour. It happened to me last night, actually. We had storms through here. I think a lot of the country did, Midwest anyway. And at 11, it was actually 11:11. I looked at my clock, and that's a side note. But anyway, I looked at and it was 11:11, and I'm like, why am I awake? And then I heard the thunder. I saw the lightning. I got up, and I've got a bird's nest on my back deck that I'm kind of partial to, that the thing it was built in, the umbrella was swaying, and so I tied the umbrella at 11. By this time, it's 11:30. By midnight, I am wide awake. By 1, I am still wide awake. Finally, by 1:30, I forced my brain to shut down and go to sleep. So needless to say, this morning was shot because I normally get up at 4. So my husband wakes me up. I help him with his lunch, just out of the goodness of my heart. It's not a requirement that he has of me, but it's just something I enjoy to do. I make his lunch. We spend time together. We have our time of devotion and prayer. He goes to work and I go back to bed. And then he calls me, and I told him I was going back to bed. He calls me 30 minutes later and I'm like, hello? He's like, oh, you were sleeping. I'm so sorry. Well, I just want to tell you this. Well, now my brain is firing, right? And I'm like, I have to sleep a little more. I fell back asleep. I did not wake up until 8:30. 8:30 a.m. That is a flat no-no for me. I'm already supposed to be working by then, right? So, but my point is, because I set myself up for failure the night before, it just scrolled right on into today. So, and that's what the next step here is about. Fatigue, stress, fear, anxiety, emotional instability, emotional nervous system dysregulation, whatever, can trigger us defaulting to habit as a comfort mechanism. So we might take something that we would be actively engrossed in and let ourselves zone out during it just to have that peace of mind that we're looking for, right? So essentially, we have two basic wavelengths that are habitual, that are active, that come naturally. Let me put it that way. System one, they call it, is your habitual gut reaction thinking. Okay, it's just whatever comes next. You have that from the time you're a child. Whatever comes next. Oh, what's this thing on the floor? I should put that in my mouth, right? It's just habit. I mean, it's just boom. It just comes and you do it. You act on it. And then system two is focused deep thinking. But in that focused deep thinking, sometimes we zone out, right? So I would like to introduce to you a system three. And system three thinking is outside the box because it is on purpose. It is the part of the brain that actively chooses whether to be mindless or to be mindful. And you can apply this in anything in life. We're applying this to our power hours tonight, but this can fit anything in your life, from your emotional balance to your spiritual walk to whatever, right? So it's, to me, it's kind of the rubber band on the wrist. Have you ever heard people that talk about having a rubber band on their wrist and they snap their wrist when they're doing an undesirable thing? That's what that's about, okay? So, and we'll cover that a little more in a later slide. So the first thing to overcome our system one, system two thinking and slide into that active, mindful presence is to get your plan in place. Now, I know Talia is on here tonight, and that one of the things, and I'm not even sure if I'm saying your name right, you can correct me later, but one of the things that she does is she teaches people how to bring their thoughts in captivity to Christ, right? That's her thing, is to teach people how to find their purpose in God. And so she sets out a plan. She had a reading plan. I stopped in and listened for a little bit the other day. But for business, we would have our plan in place for each power hour. And I'm going to have you make a list, but not just a list of the things you want to get done. We want details. And the reason for this is because when we slide off track, it is so hard to remember where we were at and what we want to get back to. So if we have it listed out, then we've got those steps in front of us. So if I want to do 3 social media posts, I need to make a detailed plan. Post 1, post 2, post 3. Post 1 is going to be content. Post 2 is going to be salesy or sharing. And post 3 is going to be a benefit. And then I'm going to list out what I want to do. So on that salesy one, I'm going to tell them that it's on sale this week, that there's a discount, that there's a coupon. Oh, that reminds me, the code is this. Did I set that up in Shopify? I need to go set that up, right? So I need to have all the steps in order listed out so that when I derail, I have a plan in front of my face. I have my blueprint, okay? And the second part of that is I would recommend doing that because that does take valuable brain resources to plan that out. I would either do that early in the morning or the night before so that you have it in place. Okay, so that when you start that power hour, it's a done deal, right? And that way, when your thoughts start to wander, you've got that blueprint right in front of you to come back to and get back on track. So secondly is breaking the cycle. And I meant to grab my bell and I didn't do it. I have the cutest little bell that a friend of mine, I was sick a year or so ago, and she sent me a care package, and it's a silver bell about this tall, and it had, like, in this care package, there was chicken noodle soup, there was a blanket, there was like some chest rub type stuff, and then the little bell, and that was for me to ring for my husband when I didn't feel well, which is laughable, right? That's just funny. So, but that bell is a disruptor, right? Just like the rubber band on your wrist. So if you snap your wrist with that rubber band. It'll remind you to stop doing what you're doing and get back to what you're supposed to be doing. There are lots of ways to disturb your thoughts in order to keep you from zoning out again. Now, this is a side note, but this was a big deal for me. Since I do have ADHD, I had a lot of the traits that ADHD people get, like biting your fingernails, like twirling your hair. I knew a girl that would pluck at her eyebrows, picking at acne, whatever, right? I bit my fingernails from childhood up. My parents tried everything. They'd put hot stuff on my fingers. They would growl at me. They would threaten to ground me. They would offer me rewards, whatever. Well, it took me getting into junior high and realizing that your hands could be pretty to want to break that. And I really started actively working on it. When I'd catch myself, I would, either sit on my hands or pull my hands away. By the time I hit freshman year, it was a big deal to me. You go into high school and you're like, oh, I want this to change so bad because I want to present myself as like I've got it together, whether I do or I don't. And so I literally, at home especially, I would smack my own hands. That sounds so stupid. That sounds so crazy. But you know what? It took me literally 2 weeks and I was broke. I was broken of that habit. If I was in public and I caught myself doing it, I would flip the inside of the palm or flip my wrist someplace that it would hurt. I'm sure somebody, if they saw it, would think it was ridiculous. It was pretty discreet, to be honest, but it worked. Or I would pinch myself. And I broke myself in 2 weeks of biting my fingernails. That's my whole point. That illustration is to show you guys you can keep on track. You can bring your thoughts back in. It's just not natural. Okay? It's just not natural. Even a drink of ice water or a quick set of jumping jacks or stretches, right? Just something enough to break the cycle, to refocus your thoughts and get back on your blueprint. If need be, sit in a different area each day. Like I have my desk here. I also have a workstation there. I have a workstation there. I have the bar in the kitchen. Sometimes I'll sit on the couch. I will try different areas with different scenery so that it helps me stay on track. So that's another way to bring yourself back into that stage 3 of thinking, or that third level. More than anything, be patient with yourself and be kind. Rome was not built in a day. No good habit was built in a day. And for those of us who do have, and not all of you do, I know that, but for those of us who do have creative thought cycles, that do have a little bit of ADHD tendencies, that do tend to chase squirrels or have sparkles, as I like to call them, we've got to remember that in all honesty, our brains are a lot like small children. They are essentially good, but they need good parenting to reach full potential, right? So that means that we got to understand that sometimes our automatic thoughts need disengaged and we have to put structure in place to make it happen. It's not natural, and it will take time, and it will take patience, and it will take self-love and some good old-fashioned self-discipline. And as I always say, you've got this.